Hey guys, welcome to the video. We're going to do a quick little video today about the Maxxis Razr MT772s, basically what we think of them and comparing them to the old tyres, our BFG KM3s. Stay tuned. Little video today about our tyre choice. We've just completed a big trip from Adelaide up to Cape York and back. Done about 13,000 Ks on the new tyres. We're a bit skeptical at the start. We've always run BFGs, so changing to the Maxxis was a bit of a scary topic. So I thought I'd make a little video basically outlining everything we found out about the tyre and what we think about comparing the two tyres as well. Firstly, we'll go over some information about the tyre. It's obviously a mud tyre. We run a y62 Patrol. We run this tyre in a 35, 12.5, 18. It's a fairly aggressive tyre. For us, it was a bit of a toss-up between the all-terrain and the mud tyre. We run no lift and we run 35-inch tyres. They do fit. You just need to muck around with the mud flaps a little bit, which is not too hard. We've got ours just bent back just a little bit, and they do clear on full lock. They do scrub every now and then when doing some extreme four-wheel driving, but it's only just clipping the inner part of the original mud flap, so that's good. Wheel-wise, we run a method wheel. We run an NV305 in matte black. They are a 18x9 plus 18 offset rim. We've run these with these tyres and the BFG KM3s, both with great results. Both tyres cleared the Patrol's body with no lift and in 35, so that was always good. They have an innovative armour sidewall design which maximises sidewall traction and puncture shoulder blocks to provide additional traction on difficult terrains. So like we found on this trip, bagging out, letting the pressure out down at about 20 psi for this particular car, and we're about 3.5 tonne, just under 3.5 tonne, the car by itself. We find they bag out really well and they provide a lot of traction. The sidewall is aggressive enough to give us good traction when they're down really, really low, and sort of that time when you really need that traction. Maxxis are pretty well known in the off-road racing scene, so changing to Maxxis was a little bit easy in that sense, going from the BFGs. The Maxxis, you would assume, have brought some of their knowledge from the off-road racing into the off-road tyre that they do. I'll start at the top, obviously. So price-wise, these tyres at the time of filming were ranging from anywhere from 450 to 500 bucks a tyre. So they're a good mix of price and value for money as well. In this particular size, the sidewall is a 10-ply sidewall. They're load rated for 1550 kilos per tyre. So those of you that are looking to do or have done the GVM upgrade with the Patrols, obviously your wheels and tyres need to be load rated to suit the maximum allowable carrying weight that you can do. So if you grab 4 of these, obviously total carrying capacity is 6,200 kilos. So you're well within that GVM upgrade weight limit, which is good to know. The same does go for these wheels as well. The methods are very well load rated. There are a lot of other wheels that aren't quite load rated enough for the GVM upgrade. So do be aware of that if you're looking to do that down the track. Noise wise, we're actually pretty happy with the noise of these. You're always going to have a bit of road noise with a large tyre and an off-road tyre. It's got deep tread lugs that you can see, so you're bound to pick up a little bit of noise. Noise-wise, comparing them to the BFGs, the BFGs started off a lot quieter and got fairly noisy towards the end of their life, where we found with the Maxxis, they started off a little bit more noisy, but they've actually quietened down a lot. So especially after the big trip we've just done, you almost can't hear them at all over the rest of the road noise. So we're actually really happy with that side of things. Not sure how well the video will pick it up, but this is what it's like driving around on a normal road during the day with the tyres. So I normally run them at around 45 psi. You get the idea of what sort of noise they're going to make. It's really not that bad at all. There is a tiny bit there, but we've got an exhaust. We've got a Harriet midsection exhaust on this car. So with that and the tyres, you can't tell the difference really. The trip rundown that we've just done with the tyres. So we had these tyres fitted just before our trip. Stock levels were a little bit hard to find leading up to the trip, so we ended up buying them a little bit earlier, and then we just put them in storage on my racking in the shed for a little while until we were ready to go. We did still have some life left in the BFGs, but whether they were going to last our big trip or not, that was sort of a bit of a question, and it wasn't something I wanted to risk. So we got our hands on a set of the Maxxis Razr MT772s and ahead of time, and we had them fitted just before we left. We put the tyres through some pretty hard terrains on our trip. We've done between 12 and 13,000 Ks on these tyres at the moment. As I said, we had them fitted just before we left. We made our way towing the caravan, a 3-ton caravan, and the patrol fully loaded with the family and bits as well in the back. We made our way up through the Strzelecki track in South Australia, up to Inaminka, across the border into Queensland, up through central Queensland and some pretty horrible roads, all the way up through to Cairns. And then once we were at Cairns, we went from Cairns right up to the Bramwell station. We left the caravan there for a little bit and did the old Telegraph track, came back, got the caravan, went up through the Jardine ferry with the caravan and took the caravan all the way to the top, up to Punson Bay, and obviously all the way back down the coast and back down to South Australia. So they did a lot of towing. They did a lot of hard four drive tracks, a lot of river crossings. We did a lot of sand, we did some beach camping. Basically, we put the tyres through everything, and they lived up to every expectation we could ask for. So one thing we did with this trip and these tyres, and we've done with our previous tyres as well, is keeping an eye on pressures and running the appropriate pressures for the terrain that we're on. Most of this trip, even when towing on some of the really horrible roads, even like the Peninsula Development Road, the PDR at Cape York, we were towing down at 20 psi. So we had 20 psi in the front, we had 22 psi in the back of the car, and then we were running the caravan on 20 psi as well. And we found that soaked up a lot of the corrugations and just protected the tyres from the sharp rocks as well. In saying that, we also run those same pressures, or 20 all round, when we haven't got the caravan on. So when we did some sand driving, beach driving, and also the old Telegraph track, we had the tyres all down at 20 psi all round. The tyres bag out quite well. I've read a lot of people saying that these tyres, because they are a 10 ply sidewall, they don't bag out quite as much as some other brands, but they do tend to loosen up, so to speak, as they go on through life. So I think with how many Ks we did at 20 psi with these tyres, they bag out really, really well now. I'll try and put some footage of us doing some slow four-wheel driving as well through here, just so you can get an idea of how much they bag out and what they look like when they're going through the different terrains. As far as self-cleaning and the tyre looking after itself, these tyres I think are probably a little bit better with the self-cleaning side of things compared to the BFGs. I don't know if it's just different terrains we've been driving or if there's anything different about that, but these tyres actually clean themselves really, really well. The BFGs had a really bad habit of getting rocks stuck in between the lugs. These lugs, a little bit better spacing, and I'll show you in a minute, but they're actually tapered as well in some spots. So their self-cleaning is really, really good, whether it's mud, sand or rocks. The main thing that I always try and keep an eye on is rocks getting stuck in the lugs when you're right down low on the pressure. So we don't want any punctures caused by that sort of thing. So you can see here what we are talking about with the tread design. So the tread design is actually tapered. You can see the lip on the leading edge there. Good spacing. We've done a lot of wheel spin, a lot of everything on these tyres. So just some quick little facts about the tyres. From new, they're 15.8mm tread depth, so it's quite tall. I'd almost say that these were a little bit taller than the BFGs. I'll check the stats on the BFGs, but I reckon the rolling diameter of these tyres is a tiny bit larger. The overall tread width on this 35, 12.5, 18-inch tyre, the overall tread width is 325 mils. The overall diameter is 884 mils. And the rolling circumference is 2,679 millimeters. So I'll compare that to the BFG. I'll put it in the note down below here and let you know what that was. But I have a feeling that the Maxxis, I could be wrong, I have a feeling that the Maxxis is a tiny bit bigger rolling diameter than the BFG. So I'll show you some footage now of the different shape of the lugs. The lugs are quite deep, as I said, and it's got an aggressive sidewall on here as well. I feel like if you're going to do anything with these tyres, we've done it on this trip. We've really put them to the test, and we've been really happy with how they've performed as well. Some of the features of the Maxxis Razr MT772s that they list, all the info can be found on their website. They feature a deeply sculpted centre block, for excellent mud traction, while stone and mud ejectors improve self-cleaning and performance while minimizing rock retention. And that basically goes back to what I was saying before about, I really feel that these do self-clean a lot better than the BFGs, which is great. They do emphasize on their website that the Tyre is resistant to cutting and tearing and ripping chunks off the tread. So they've designed the tread pattern and the Tyre itself to be fairly tough and avoid that sort of thing happening. I'll show you a close-up of the tread as well. They do have a two-tiered design, so it's like a step on the tread, which apparently is really good for self-cleaning. Grip-wise on the road, we find that the Tyres have just as much, if not the same amount of grip, or maybe even a little bit more than the BFGs. In the wet and in the dry on the road, we haven't had a problem yet, even when towing the van as well. Being an automatic, it's probably a little bit different in a manual, but having that extra grip there from a really sticky, soft feeling mud tyre really makes a big difference. It does tend to stop any of that spinning when you're trying to go up rock ledges or anything like that, which tends to damage the tyre a fair bit. The Maxxis Razr MT772 is also a winner of the 2020 4x4 Australia tyre test. That in itself is saying that it's actually a pretty good tyre and value for money as well. These tyres are for people like me who like the aggressive look. They're also going to give you function as well. They're really good at what they do. We honestly, we can't fault them to this point. We're relatively low obviously in their life, but I feel like we've done a lot in the short time that we've had them. What I'll do is I'll go around all the tyres and we'll see if we've got any damaged lugs or anything like that. I'll put some footage up now if I can find anything. To my knowledge, I've had a quick look around and I can't actually see any ripped lugs or damaged cut lugs. So that in itself, for what we've done on the old Telegraph track and the Peninsula Development Road, is saying a lot. So we were almost GCM at 7 tonne when we left, and down at 20 PSI with 7 tonne up at Cape York. If you're going to get any damaged tyres, that's where it's going to happen. So we've seen a lot of people have a lot of damage up there, and for us to come back undamaged, we're really happy with that. Just to summarise, BFGs, KM3s, and the Maxxis Razr MT772s, I probably can't split the both. The BFGs are quite expensive for what they are. In saying that, there was no stock in Australia at all in the size we needed when it was time for us to buy. So that sort of pushed us to the Maxxis as being the second best option for us. We're really happy with the outcome, really happy with the tyre. In saying that, I can't fault BFGs either. They were a little bit noisy towards the end, but everything else about them was really good. So between the two tyres, I wouldn't tell you to go one or the other between these two particular tyres, which is just the two brands that I have experience in. I guess if I had to choose one particular thing, it'd be value for money, and on that side of things, the Maxxis wins that hands down with the price. All right guys, that's going to do the video today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, give us a comment down below and we'll always be here to answer any questions or tell you what we think or tell you what we found out as well. There's probably a heap I've missed in the video, so let me know if you have any other questions. Feel free to like and subscribe. It'll help YouTube show it to more people. Hopefully we can give the info they need.